Yo guys, what is going on? It is Invin here, and today what I am bringing to you all is my favourite class setup and my best class setup for the 3v3 arenas, which is actually going to be the Brawler. Now, it's kind of similar to the Bruiser, except from sacrifices a little bit of that utility that you would use in large-scale PvP in favour of a bit of damage, but it is still going to be that heavy, kind of slow attacking but big damage type of role. However, we are going to be using medium armor, which I'll go into during this video. Now, this obviously is the base class. It works the best for me. I've fine-tuned it to my playstyle, so I wanted to share that with you guys so you can try it out. But by all means, you know, tune different parts of this to more cooperate with your playstyle and use it as a basis if you would like to, or entirely copy it and see how it works for you. One important thing to note is that I am 625 on pretty much my entire set, so that does make a slight difference to kind of the numbers you'll be seeing in some of the clips and stuff like that. But other than that, you should be able to attain the same level of damage and things like that in the arena as what you'll be seeing that I'm doing in this video with this build. So jumping straight into it, as I said to you guys there then, we've got the Great Axe. The one I'm using right now is literally just an epic. It is a Keen Enchanted. If you can get yourself thwarting strikes, particularly with this setup, which is where any gritted attack does like 11 or 12% more damage depending on the level of the item you have, that is really, really key, but Enchanted is decent and Keen is very, very good. And then on the Warhammer then, I've got Sundering Shockwave, Keenly Fortified and Enchanted. Again, nothing particularly best in slot, but it is decent for the arenas, and I'll go into why in just a moment. Armor is all pretty much medium, so I run a heavy helmet, heavy chestplate, medium gloves, light legs, and medium boots. Most notably, you'll need to know here, we've got Enfeebling Maelstrom on the legs here, which gives us the ability to weaken people when we do Maelstrom on them, which is really important. We've then got Insatiable Gravity Well on the boots. This one, again, is really important in the arenas. It has been nerfed a little bit, do bear that in mind, but it is still a must-have on a Bruiser/Brawler type role. And then moving up to the gloves, we've got the Leeching Path of Destiny, which has had kind of a change around, so you don't get 110% weapon damage back as health every time. It's 100% by default, but Path of Destiny can crit, which means you can get a little bit extra back than 110%. It's like 150%, 200%, whatever, on the rare occasion as well, so it can be absolutely insane. Now, those are kind of the main weapon perks, obviously paired with the Sundering Shockwave that I have here on the hammer. Now, in terms of jewelry, I'm using Strike Protection, I'm using Refreshing, and I'm using Health on the amulet. The reason for that is strike damage you take less from, so Warhammers are going to do less to you, which is really, really beneficial when playing this particular type of role. Then on the ring here, I've got Leeching and Keen Awareness, and on the earring, I have Regenerating and Purifying Toast. Purifying Toast is super important. When you drink a regeneration potion, you lose 1 debuff, and again, I would say that is pivotal to this role, so you do really want to try and get this on. Alternatively, if you can find a piece, or you already have a piece that has the potion regeneration is quicker, so you can use potions quicker, that's also pretty good, but personally, I much prefer this one here, this Purifying Toast. Now, moving into the actual build itself then, attributes first, we're looking at 300 strength and 161 con. We eat the 40 constitution buff food, and that brings us up to 300, or just over 300, and then 200 con. So we do actually manage to get the 10% increase to physical armor here, puts us up to about 13,500-ish HP, obviously with my necklace on there as well, giving us the health buff. And then the strength, obviously we've always got grit on, which is why thwarting strikes is super useful. Now, in terms of the weapon masteries, I'm going to show you guys the trees here, briefly explain why I've chosen the ones that I have, and then I'm going to show you some gameplay while I go on to explain how and why this works successfully. So firstly, with the Great Axe here, you guys will see that we have Maelstrom fully upgraded, we have Whirlwind fully upgraded, and we have Gravity Well fully upgraded. And on that side of the tree, we take no passives, but we do take the Mauler's Fury. And then on the Reaper side of the tree, we take Greed, Death's Embrace, Critical Gains, Keen Edge, Frustration, Feed, and Critical Condition. Now, there's a couple of reasons that this is a really decent setup. Firstly, you will get a lot of critical damage, and in return for that critical damage, a lot of health back when using the Great Axe, which is really good for survivability, particularly when you don't have a healer on the team. Now, as you guys will see as well, I also did have Leeching on my ring, which does give me a little bit more like lifesteal every time I'm attacking, which pairs up with this really nicely. As well as this, the passives that we take off the Reaper side of the Great Axe tree allow us to do a lot of damage when we get players players below 50 and then below 30% health, as well as breaking extra armor, healing ourselves for more damage done. So when it comes down to the wire, particularly in those 2v1 or 1v1 situations, if you can get one of the enemy players low, then you're actually going to be able to survive and probably kill them a lot easier than most players. And it also really helps you to finish off kills with the Great Axe, which can be great when you're playing with bows, when you're playing with mages, anything like that where they're picking off damage. You can go in and finalize that kill for your team, which is a really, really helpful role. Now, of course, the Enfeebling Maelstrom is the perk that we had, as well as using actually Maelstrom itself. This is really important because as well as pulling the target towards the center, it will then obviously give them a weaken, which makes them do less damage. But not only that, it also consumes all projectiles while you are in this, which can be super useful, especially against blunderbusses in this close range situation. When somebody goes for a melt on that, you can Maelstrom them and it will eliminate one of the abilities, stopping you getting one shot, which is why, in my opinion, this is a really, really good ability. Now, the third upgrade, No Reprieve, on the Maelstrom gives it the ability to do an extra spin attack which pulls foes in again. Obviously you have grit on this, which is really, really good, and it just does a little bit extra damage. So if you do get someone stuck in a gravel and drop this on top of them, you're going to do a significant amount, and obviously drop those debuffs onto the enemy as well, which leads me nicely onto the Gravity Well itself. Obviously you want this one with Insatiable Gravity Well fully upgraded so that you do more damage and give your allies a 10% fortify bonus whilst inside it. That's really important, particularly if someone's getting chased down like a healer or a mage or even a light armored dex player. You can throw your Gravity Well onto them. It will, 1, catch the enemy and damage them, but 2, give your teammate more of a chance to survive, which is super, super useful. And then finally, we go on to Whirlwind. This one has been buffed in the recent patch, which is the main reason I kind of tested it out. I was using Charge, but actually in the arena, this is really, really good. If you're against another Great Axe user or a Warhammer user where they've got a lot of CC, this makes you immune to the CC and you can move pretty quickly. That was the main thing that got buffed, is the move speed of it, which is really nice. It will do some damage. It's not great, I won't lie to you guys. The damage is, 500 to 700 per hit. However, you do several rotations. It's actually increased to 7 with the second upgrade. And then once you've got the third upgrade, that's what gives you the big movement speed burst. And the final upgrade on that tree then is if you have 3 or more foes around you, you deal 30% more damage. So if you do dive into the mix, or more likely you get pulled into the mix or gravity welled and then people dive on you, you can activate this. It will get you out of it and you'll deal more damage to them as you're going out of the gravity well or the CC that you're trapped in. The only thing it doesn't work with is Ice Shower, but anything other than that, and you will be able to hit them for around about 1,000 each, which should make them back up and heal or allow your team to be able to pick down their health very, very nicely. Next then, we are jumping into the Warhammer build. As you guys can see on screen here, this is the build that we're going with. We're going with Wrecking Ball fully upgraded, Shockwave fully upgraded, and Path of Destiny fully upgraded. We've taken the ultimate from the Crowd Crusher side, which is the Aftershock, which is wherever a target is affected by crowd control, they are slowed by 20% for 4 seconds. Really, really pivotal in the arenas. We've also then taken from the Crowd Crusher side the passives Outnumbered, Guarded Sprint, Concussive Impact, and Prevailing Spirit. And then from the Juggernaut side, we've taken Epitome of Bonk, we've taken Hammer Time, we have taken Exhaustive Attacks, we've taken Hardened Steel, and finally Contemption. Now again, this is a really, really effective build. That's why it's called more the Brawler build. If you were looking for complete CC and the Bruiser type build, you might want something like Armor Breaker, or you might want Clear Out, but this is focused more towards sustain and actually getting you a good amount of damage. Now, firstly starting with the abilities, obviously Path of Destiny, we've got Leeching Path of Destiny on. That is pivotal to this set as it gives you a huge amount of sustain. Not only that, it will stagger players that you hit, which can be really, really good at counter CCing. It can also be really good as it has got a little bit of range, which means that you can be quite effective kind of in the arena, because the range that it has is pretty successful at most ranges within that arena kind of area. Once you get the second upgrade, it will stagger all the targets, like I said, so that makes it really effective. If somebody is getting chased on your team, you can stagger that enemy and then catch up to drop some more CC on them. And the third upgrade will reduce the ability cooldown by 5% for each enemy hit with it. So 5%, 10% or 15%. Either way, it gets it back up much quicker and is a really nice touch. Then, of course, we have Shockwave. This one is going to stagger the enemies back. Not only that, it's going to have grit on it, which means that you cannot be flattened yourself whilst you're doing it or CC'd in another way. Obviously, again, we have Sunder and Shockwave, which provides a rend to the enemies, leaving them more susceptible to get damaged. You also have Frailty as the first upgrade, which you can get, which causes a weaken onto the target, so therefore you now have 2 weakens in your arsenal, one from the Maelstrom and one from the Shockwave, and this is actually for 10 seconds from the Shockwave as well, which is really, really nice. And then the final upgrade to this just expands the range of Shockwave to a 4-meter radius, which means that more often than not you're hitting at least 2 of the players, if not all 3, depending how grouped up they are. But this can be really, really good, particularly if 1 or 2 of the players dive on you, you can get them both down with this. Now finally, I take Wrecking Ball. The reason for this is that you strike the ground with your hammer and it absolutely flattens full out an enemy. Now, most other attacks like the Shockwave Stagger or the Path of Destiny Stagger, once an enemy takes attack damage from any other source after that ability, they get out of that Stagger CC. Whereas with the Wrecking Ball, they are flat onto the floor and they do not get back up from that even when they take further damage, which in my opinion makes this a really, really good ability, particularly for the arenas, because it means your team can try and nuke out one player when you get them down, or you can try and take out their Brawler tank type role that's chasing you down, flatten him, run off and take the healer out a bit, and he'd take a while to get up. It can't be get out of that by damage, so even if someone does hit him, it's not going to pull him out of it, which is a really, really cool thing. Now, the upgrade to this one will give you a successful hit, will grant you Fortify for 20% for 7 seconds, which is really, really nice to have as a damage resistance. And if you're getting ganked by 1 or 2 of them diving on top of you, again, this is a really, really good thing and can be used to counteract an enemy bonk, as what I like to call it, or a Wrecking Ball. And then the third upgrade here just expands the range of the Wrecking Ball to 1.5 meters. So again, if you get stuck in a grav well, usually you'll get 2 or 3 players down with this if they all jump on top of you. Now, the perks here are basically set up to do a bit more armor damage, to allow you to apply an exhaust, which slows the stamina regeneration, which particularly versus light armor players is really, really important. It also gives you empower on heavy attacks, as well as, again, increasing the heavy attack damage to targets by 15% to targets which are under 30% health, so finishing off the kills with both weapons there is going to be a lot easier. Now, also, it means that you've got increased damage absorption when surrounded by 2 or more enemies, so when you do get into a tough situation, you're going to pull this out to do the CC to try and save yourself, if you haven't got your Whirlwind up on the Great Axe, and that's going to give you some damage reduction there. As well as this, you're going to take less damage when sprinting, you're also going to deal more damage to anyone with active debuffs, and you're going to regain 35% of damage dealt as health when using Crowd Crusher abilities, which combines with the sustain already from Leeching Path of Destiny, and makes Shockwave have a little bit of heal potential as well. Now, one thing I did mention is having Hardened Steel on. However, if you're using the setup I have, where you have Grit by default, if you are able to get another ability that pumps you down to the Contemption passive and, of course, the Wrecking Ball ability, then you can actually swap out Hardened Steel, and I would instead take Quick Recovery, which is, again, where heavy attacks will reduce your cooldown by 7% per enemy that you hit. Again, this build revolves around heavy attacking and using the CC abilities to create some sustain, to create some distance, and to create some control over the enemies, and then the Great Axe is used to finish off and heal up health if you need to. It's a really, really fun ability and a really, really good combo that I have had a lot of fun with, as you guys will be able to see from the clips. So hopefully this video has helped a few of you out with some ideas about what to use in the arenas. I know a lot of you have been asking me in the comments and on Twitter, what is the build that I'm using currently? I am in, again, like I said at the beginning, medium armor set. The reason for this is, of course, you get the extra 10% damage and you get the 10% additional bonus time to the crowd control effects that you do, which means that this Bruiser Brawler type role is much more effective, so I really personally like having that on. So for that reason, that's why I go there over light. However, the same setup with light armor can also be really, really effective, as I have played that a few times, but personally, I just prefer having the medium, a little bit more sustain in my opinion. Now, like I said at the start, if you do want to go ahead and completely copy this and try it out for yourself, feel free to. If you want to copy it and tweak up a few things, again, feel free to. And if you've got some advice for players down below in the comments on a similar Bruiser Brawler type style of gameplay, then do feel free to drop that knowledge in the comments down below, as that'd be absolutely amazing. But other than that, guys, make sure you do drop a subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Do drop me a like if you found this video useful. Both of those things hugely help to support me and my content here on YouTube, so I'd really, really appreciate that. And other than that, I will catch you guys again very, very shortly on a brand new upload. So thank you for your time, thank you for watching, and peace.